My name is Alyssa, a 30-year-old stay-at-home mom. I live with my husband and our 6-year-old daughter. She's incredibly sweet and always eager to help out with whatever she can, even at such a young age. Once she's told that something is off limits, she makes sure never to repeat it. She's such a well-behaved child. I adore her so much that whenever she asks for something, I want to give it to her. I met my husband in college, and we started dating because of shared interests, eventually tying the knot. Both of us love the ocean, often going scuba diving or snorkeling whenever we got a long break. However, after our daughter was born, my husband's attitude changed drastically.
Oh, period. He would say things like, yo, he's not my kid, and wouldn't participate in parenting at all. He stopped helping out with chores, which we used to share before.
He comes home from work, eats dinner, takes a bath, and goes straight to bed, barely spending any time with us.
Seeing my daughter occasionally approach him saying, "Daddy," with longing broke my heart.
The and Bulty, as despite my efforts to bring us together as a family, he seemed indifferent, not caring for our daughter at all. To make her happy, I would buy her a delicious pudding on our way home from preschool or take her on day trips to create happy memories.
I mean, now she's always waiting for your attention. Lately, she's even been waiting for you by the front door around when you come home. Why won't you be a dad to your own daughter?
I confronted him many nights after our daughter had gone to bed.
Every time he'd barely listen, responding with vague answers, like "okay." Then, after a while, he'd try to escape unresolved issues by saying, "I'm tired. Can I go to sleep now?"
It made me feel hopeless seeing him act this way. He didn't seem to have any paternal instincts. My daughter really had it tough. She misses out on the basic love and attention most kids get from their fathers, and it's heartbreaking.
I've told many times that I want him to spend time with our daughter and to be more aware of his role as a father, but he doesn't listen.
Even after doing my utmost, he refuses to recognize her as his own child. I have another significant problem, though. That's my relationship with my mother-in-law.
Plus, my husband spends time with her regularly and seems to have told her that our daughter isn't his child. He would also complain to her, saying things like "Galsinagid" at me again today.
Every time he reports these things to her, she summons me for a stern lecture. You don't even come to help around our house, even though you're a stay-at-home mom. You're trying to deceive my son. I've got a lot of nerve.
My son is taking care of you two, knowing full well the child isn't his. Show some gratitude.
Every time we met, it felt like a lecture. She never listens to my desperate pleas that I haven't cheated, that my daughter is indeed his. When I'd let them meet, she'd give my daughter cold, disdainful looks, so I rarely took her to my husband's parents' house, except for times like New Year's or major holidays when we absolutely had to visit our family. I made sure that my daughter and my mother-in-law didn't spend time together. It's simply cruel to expose my innocent 6-year-old to such attitudes. My daughter is a clever, sensitive child who notices if her friend isn't feeling well and tries to help if her teacher is busy. Despite her young age, my thoughtful and considerate daughter was and always my pride and joy. I've been contemplating how to rebuild our relationships with my mother-in-law and husband. I thought of discussing it with my father-in-law, but he's a busy man, too busy to even meet me when I visit their place. He's so competent that his company asked him to stay on after retirement, so he's still working. But he's the only one who acknowledges my daughter as his grandchild, gives her some pocket money, and shows some concern for us. That's the only solace I have, and where I see some hope for reconciliation. Then one day, an event occurred that might help advance our relationship. My husband suggested a trip to Hawaii with the participants being our family and my in-laws. Apparently, my father-in-law seemed to be showing signs of fatigue lately, so the plan was to have him take a lengthy vacation and refresh during that time. I had never been to Hawaii, neither had our daughter, and she doesn't have much travel experience. So, going to Hawaii would not only be a wonderful memory for both me and my daughter, but it could also serve as a stepping stone to rebuilding our relationship. I eagerly accepted the proposal. We planned to go snorkeling, a shared hobby of mine and my husband's, and I couldn't be more excited. Upon arrival in Hawaii, we went to check out the boat my husband had reserved. Though small, it was a fine vessel, and the thought of sailing out on it made me even more excited for what was to come. Our daughter's eyes were sparkling as she looked at the boat, and I was certain that today would be a happy day for us. At my husband's words, my heart raced. Our daughter had practiced snorkeling for this day and was even prepared to dive in shallow waters with some flotation devices. My husband had a boating license, so the plan was to sail to a secluded island and explore its untouched, beautiful ocean. My father-in-law decided to stay behind as he had something else he wanted to do. As we were headed out, both my daughter and I were looking forward to the stunning views we were about to see. So having finished the preparations, we arrived at the harbor where the rented boat was docked. After ensuring we'd left nothing behind, we set sail, overwhelmed by the natural beauty of Hawaii. After ensuring we'd left nothing behind, we set sail, overwhelmed by the natural beauty of Hawaii. The sunlight reflecting off the water as we sailed through was stunning. Our daughter was extremely excited about this new experience, and I was glad we had come. We arrived at the secluded island my husband had planned for us and started our snorkeling adventure. At first, our daughter was scared, but once I reassured her and we dived in, she was so enchanted by the magical world underwater that she kept diving in again and again. She really is her parents' daughter, quickly getting the hang of it and enjoying snorkeling more than most folks would. Isai too was enjoying the underwater world, occasionally interacting with my daughter as we had a great time. Before we knew it, the sun had started to set, and we realized we'd lost track of time.
As the sky started to turn slightly orange, it finally dawned on me. So much time has passed.
Since snorkeling at night is very risky, we decided to return to the shore, only to realize something was terribly wrong. My husband and mother-in-law were nowhere to be found. Our belongings had disappeared, and the boat was missing from where we had docked it. I immediately broke into a cold sweat, realizing we had been abandoned. Being stranded on a deserted island is a dangerous situation. No cell phone signal, and we had no other means of communication. But to make things worse, my 6-year-old daughter was with me. It felt utterly despairing to end up in such a dire situation.
Seeing my daughter's anxious face as she said, "Mom," brought me back to my senses.
I couldn't afford to be scared. My daughter is still too young to fully understand the situation. If she did understand, it would only terrify her even more.
It's gonna be alright. I reassured her as I picked her up, deciding to do what we could for the moment.
Luckily, I had some portable food in my bag, enough to last us a day or two. Maybe someone would notice our absence and come for us. Having my daughter with me allowed me to remain calm. If it were just me, I would have wanted to break down and cry, but doing that would only make my daughter more anxious. At small, I wanted to create happy memories, but I never imagined it would turn out like this. I wonder if my husband and his mom had planned this all along. Other than getting sad, anger bubbled up first, but I managed to hold myself together.
Looking out at the ocean and praying from the bottom of my heart that this situation doesn't last, suddenly I saw a figure moving through the waves.
Without hesitation, I shouted, "Help, please," and waved my arms.
It was a boat. By sheer luck, a boat happened to be passing near the deserted island we were on. Upon hearing our story, they expressed sympathy and assured us that they would take us to our booked hotel. Help came much sooner than expected. Perhaps this was a result of my past deeds. My daughter, seemingly more frightened than I, burst into tears when a man on the boat reassured her, saying, "It's going to be all right now." It seems she had held back her tears on the island because I was with her. Hearing her loud cries, I too began to tear up. I felt utterly helpless. Being a mother instead of making happy memories, I had made her so scared. I felt anger towards my husband and mother-in-law. This time we were lucky a boat was nearby, but what if none had come? It wouldn't have been surprising if my daughter had lost her life. How could they do this? We were safely taken to the island where our hotel was located. After expressing our gratitude to the people on the boat, they told us, "We are glad it didn't become a serious situation." Assuming my daughter was traumatized, I decided to head to the hotel right away to let her rest. On our way, we bumped into my father-in-law. Sensing something was off by our appearance, he took us to a nearby diner and listened to our story. My daughter, perhaps tired, fell asleep on my lap, and while I covered her with a jacket to keep her warm, I recounted the things my husband and mother-in-law did. What happened today, the fact that my husband and mother-in-law had been mistreating my daughter, and the harsh words they constantly threw at me.
Hearing everything, his face turned red with anger, and he simultaneously apologized, bowing and saying, "I'm sorry, I never noticed."
He was the only one who had always treated my daughter kindly, seeing her as his beloved granddaughter. Honestly, there was no need for him to apologize. I just wanted him to know the truth.
But he felt it wasn't enough and said, "Let's get back at them."
Follow his lead, we contacted the hotel. Since check-in time was still ahead, neither my husband nor mother-in-law should have arrived. Since I made the hotel reservations, they listened to me as as soon as I mentioned my name. I requested they don't let my husband and mother-in-law check in, and they agreed. Furthermore, checking my father-in-law's phone, we found a nasty message from my husband. It revealed their plan to leave us on the deserted island, hoping we would die. My father-in-law, busy upping in Hawaii, had overlooked the message. Realizing this was a criminal act, we immediately contacted the police. After explaining and showing them the message, the officer said, "This is terrible," and promised to arrest my husband and mother-in-law. Before long, both were apprehended. Apparently, after leaving us, they had been shopping and caused a scene in the hotel lobby when they couldn't check in. Their behavior, causing trouble without a second thought, left me in disbelief. Our Hawaii trip turned out to be a complete disaster. Upon returning to the States, I took my daughter and went straight to my parents' house. From then on, I avoided any contact with my husband and mother-in-law, and with the help of my father-in-law, initiated divorce proceedings. Their decision to abandon us on the island was the final straw, allowing me to demand a hefty alimony. My former father-in-law divorced his wife and cut ties with my ex-husband. Having lived off my father-in-law's income, my former mother-in-law faced financial difficulties, and though she sought help from my ex-husband, he too was drowning in debt from the alimony. Events, I heard they now live quietly in a rundown apartment. I still regularly meet with my former father-in-law. To my daughter, no matter what, my former father-in-law is still her beloved grandfather. What happened? Her former step-grandfather will always be her grandfather, someone who doted on her every time we met. For me, it was only natural to want to repay the kindness of my former father-in-law because, thanks to him, I was able to escape from what felt like a nightmare environment.
I received several messages from my ex-husband and former mother-in-law saying, "We want to see you." There were also messages that read, "We want to apologize," but I deleted all of them, making sure they couldn't contact us anymore.
While my former father-in-law is still considered family to us, the two who were abandoned even by him mean nothing to us now. My daughter will be starting elementary school soon. She recently got a backpack from my former father-in-law, and she was ecstatic to wear it. With her intelligence and kindness, I believe she'll easily make friends even in a new environment. I want to continue watching over my daughter's growth. One day, I hope to take her on a trip to Hawaii again. I want to overwrite the sad memories with happy ones, doing everything I can as a mother.